So going back to where was I? Revelation. Yeah, I was saying, behold, he cometh with clouds, meaning chariots, and every eye shall see him, and even they also which pierced him. So those Roman centurions who pierced our Lord 2,000 years ago on the cross, they're going to be back here today, because guess what? Reincarnation is biblical, and they're going to have to pay for what they've done because they put their hands on the Son of the Most High.
Yeah.
Now, that is going to be a terrifying thing. You put your hands on the only begotten Spirit of Yahweh. You dared to put your hands upon him.
Yeah.
It says in the Gospels,
You're
what
dirty.
did they do? They beat him, they stripped him naked, they put a rod, a reed in his hand and a crown of thorns on his head, and they mocked him and spat on him. All those things you did to our Lord Yahweh. How do you think he's going to do with you when he comes back? That's why, again, that image that they've got up in the churches, the Christian churches of Cesare Borgia, Serapis Christus, that Edomite Jesus Christ, you don't look at that picture and you don't ever feel fear when you look at that picture. He's always got his hands up, like, you know, in this kind of position, like he's all. And this is why they say God is love. God is love. They don't even understand that. What is love according to the Bible? 1 John 5 verse 3 states, "For this is the love of the Most High, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous." Yep. So that is love according to the Bible. Or 2 John 1 and verse 6. It says, "And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment that ye have heard from the beginning, that ye should walk in it." So if you're not teaching the laws, statutes and commandments, and that people should adhere to them, you don't know what love is. You know what I'm saying? But the Christians will always use that term. God is love. God is love. No. God is a power to be feared, and his name is Yahweh, and his son is Yahweh Shai, and they are both dark-skinned. Let me get into this. So it says, verse 8, "I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord Yahweh Shai, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty." So Yahweh Shai, you're not going to be able to kill him when he comes back. 2,000 years ago, he came in the form of a man. You was able to put your hands on the Lord and kill him on the cross. But guess what? He raised up. Now he's no longer a man. He's coming back as a spiritual power.
Right.
That's why there's no salvation in any other. Because what did it say in Deuteronomy 28 and 68? Let me get that again. Deuteronomy 28 and 68 says, "And the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, and thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and for bondwomen, and no man shall buy you." Meaning that no man's going to be able to redeem us from this condition that we find ourselves in right now. Because what other nation was sold into slavery by ships to have a yoke of iron on their neck? No other nation can turn around and say that they've experienced that. The Ammonites can't say they've experienced that. The Hamites can't say they've experienced that. The Cushites, the Moabites, even the Edomites can't say they've experienced that. But us Israelites, we experienced that. Both northern and southern kingdom. You know, Judah and Israel were pressed together. But guess what? All those nations, they're going to experience it when Yahweh Shai returns, because they're all going to have to pay for the things that they've done, and for that, the part they've played in trying to oppress the people, the children of Israel, us Israelites. They're going to have to pay for everything that they've done, and the payment for that is going to be 1,000 years of hardcore slavery. That's why, at the end of it all, them heathen nations are going to be like, you know what, these are the people of the Most High, and we was wrong to have put our hand upon them and to try and conspire against them to keep them down, because it was all through jealousy, man. Just like when Balak tried to get Balaam to curse us. It was all through jealousy, man, because they didn't want us to inherit our inheritance.
Yeah.
So these heathens have got to pay for what they did. So yeah, as I was saying, Yahweh Shai is the saviour, because he's not coming back as a man. It says, "I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man," which ties in with Deuteronomy 28:68, where it says, "And no man shall buy you." See, no man's going to be able to deliver us from this condition. This is why when you look at the so-called, and I say so-called black community because we're not black, they always try and keep pushing these stuff. They always try to keep pushing these flipping puppet leaders on us. Like for example, you got Louis Farrakhan, you got Jesse Jackass, they call him, Jesse Jackson. All these guys who they try and put as if they're the sort of leaders of the nation. They ain't the leaders of our nation, man. They're just fucking paid for puppets, and then they can't deliver us from our captivity. You got something?
Yeah, I'm going to bring that one out. You quoted it, but I'll read it. Isaiah 47 and I start from 2. Take the millstone and grind, mill, uncover the locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the river. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. Last one. As for our Redeemer, the Yahweh, or Yahweh thy power, of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Yeah, the Redeemer, or the Deliverer, or he saves, Yahushai.
That's right.
So you're talking about Barak Kun and you're talking about Malcolm X. Yeah. They never delivered us. They did lead people, but they led them in the wrong way, in the wrong direction.
That's a great point. Yeah, like what do they call Martin Luther King? What did he do for our people? He just tried to as they say, try to integrate us with a burning house, trying to get us to be joined hand in hand with our enemies. You know, he was nothing but a puppet anyway. But to this day, they still try and push him as this so-called great leader of our people. What did he fucking accomplish? We're still in captivity. We're still in oppression. And his ass is dead. So, you know what I mean? But there's something else.
And he didn't. Can I just say something else? And he didn't give us that self-esteem. Like you could be frustrated. Like when you know that you're a Hebrew Israelite, you're not a black but a Hebrew Israelite. Identity, you have an identity separate from other nations that brings you up.
Yes.
And so you're not learning the ways of the heathens, following. You're not a follower no more. You become with self-esteem, and you're not a follower. You become a leader of the prophets. Really, you know.
That's a good point. And that, you know, what self-esteem creates. Self-esteem creates a sense of independence.
Right.
And from independence comes a position of strength, because if you're independent, you no longer need to depend on someone else for support. And that's exactly what Esau fears. He doesn't want to see the Israelites become independent, because he knows when we become independent, then he's going to lose his seat and his position of authority over us. So therefore, that's why he always tries to keep us in bondage. And you know, he does a lot of that through debts, you know, making us subject unto payments.
Yeah.
Oh, let me get that one. Bear with me while I find this preset.
Yeah, can I just say as well, because you said about when we're in school, we're learning the public school system. So we're bombarded with the public school system. We're bombarded with the media. I remember being a part of the television, so we're bombarded with tele-lies, a whole heap of lies from the TV, because I remember when we first got a TV, it was a black and white one, so we was like, we got a TV, and then it was a colour, so you got a colour, so it was like the internet or technology today. It was a very modern thing to have a TV, even though it was black and white and in colour. So you're bombarded with all this information, and I remember also at school, what team you support. So if you say, like, let's say Tottenham or Arsenal, is that Tottenham supporter coming up? That's part of your identity. That's how important it is. Now you got whatever tournament is going on now. Denmark and England just beat Denmark, right? And you can hear people shouting, and I'm no part of that. But you had to support a team because that's part of your identity. So that's another form of programming.
Yes.
Being a part of, you got to be part of, you got to support some team. When I used to say Brazil, people used to look at me, give me, you know. But back to your point, we're bombarded from a young age with all the 10 lies and information, not knowing who we are, getting even further away from who we are, being a part of the Esau and the part of the nations, envying the oppressor.
That's a good point. And I can identify with that too, because when I was young, my grandparents had a black and white TV. So it's kind of funny to think that I grew up in an age where black and white TVs were still about, and now you've got things like the internet and you've got mobile phones where you can see everything in color on your phone screen. Like for example, it wasn't that long ago when phones came out and it was just green and black, no text, no images.
Right.
But it shows you that the prophecy of Daniel is being fulfilled. Let me get that quickly. It says Daniel 12. That's the thing, man. Sometimes you have to actually stop and think, how far have we come in terms of prophecy? Because even in our short lifetime, we've seen so many drastic changes, so many prophecies come to pass, and most people they don't even realize that these prophecies are being fulfilled. This is Daniel 12 and verse bear with me, Slakia. Yeah, Daniel 12 verse 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. So we're seeing that technology being increased rapidly. But you know why this technology is being increased so badly? So much, I should say. It's because Yahweh is using it to destroy Esau. You know what I'm saying? If the internet didn't exist, Esau's the revelation and expose of Esau wouldn't be as prolific, if that makes sense. Because in the past, to get your news, you've had to have a television or you have to get the newspaper every day. And the newspaper, we know the broadcast media is controlled by Esau. So Esau is always going to be pushing a pro-Esau narrative. You know, a pro-Esau narrative and a non-Israelite narrative. So he'll be magnifying himself, but he'll always be trying to make the Israelites look bad. That's why he invests so much into like gangster rap music and you know, R&B. R&B music. You might say, well, I'm listening to R&B. It's not as bad as gangster rap because R&B isn't so much about going out and shooting your brother and robbing him for what he's got. But guess what? What does R&B promote? Adultery.
Yep.
You know, and what is adultery? Adultery is likewise a sin unto death.
Right.
But they use these R&B artists to promote that, and that's mainly to a women as well, because a lot of our women listen to that stuff, and they get all up in their feelings, and then they start dealing with this man. It doesn't work out, then they jump to the next man. So it's destroying our people. You know. Just to
name a couple. Keith Sweat.
Yeah, Keith Sweat.
I grew up on Keith Sweat. What's that other guy? Jodeci.
Oh yeah, I remember Jodeci. Forever My Lady. Yeah.
Boy, some of them tunes were wicked, man. We you know, in our naivety.
Boys to Men.
Boys to Men. There's another one. R. Kelly.
R. Kelly. Yeah.
You know what happened with him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't see nothing wrong.
These were our role models. Like we didn't know. Like I say, we was bombarded. We was bombarded with all this stereotypes.
That's right.
And not to mention all these other, you know, all them rappers. What's his name? P Diddy, yeah. Puff Daddy, and the other one, Fat Joe. Yeah, Fat Joe. Six-pack guy. What was his name again?
50 Cent.
Yeah, all these. Yeah, there's too many, man. You know, but bad role models, man.
So exactly. That's why those people get magnified, because Esau knew that he could use these things to his advantage. Like flipping, when rap first came out, you know, you had a lot of actual messages being pushed with the music, and Esau knew that that was a threat to him. So what did he do? He funded groups like what is that guy? That Jewish guy, is it Jerry Heller?
Yeah.
Funded guys like Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube to form the group NWA to push out that black militant kind of thing, which ended up becoming the gangster rap thing.
Right.
And when he turned it into gangster rap, Esau was able to get a lot of our young people brainwashed into that stuff, into that sort of street culture, thinking that, you know, it's anything goes.
Right.
And that's why through the music, through the media, he pushed this spirit, this wicked spirit, this wicked vibration, and it took a lot of our people to where now what have you got? You've got idiots like Little Nas X going up on the BT Awards.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that bit. I didn't. A brother done it though, but Slacker, go on, bro.
No, it's all
you know, I get emotional. Emotion's going to start coming up, man. But anyway, Slacker, go.
Well, it's supposed to vex your righteous spirit when you see that type of thing, just as it vexed Lot. But you know what? Little Nas X doing that is just to it didn't start with him. This has been a gradual decline, and people have tolerated this, and people have turned a blind eye to that, and now it's reached this point. You know what I'm saying? As I said before, there's actually a song by a group called the Manic Street Preachers, which is called "If You Tolerate This, Then Your Children Will Be Next." You know, and I remember that song. It came out in '98. It's a decent song, and I remember thinking about that. And it's so true, because what's happened is you've had generations of our people, Israelites, who haven't adhered to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, and it's eroded our nation to the point where you've got little idiots like little Nas X thinking that it's okay to be lip locking with another man.
But you know what? Can I just add, right? Because on social media, it's so too much, they went a bit too far with that, right? Because you got LGBT so-called black men speaking against that.
Really?
So it shows that, you know, I mean, they got some principles, because really that was a bit. He's saying, the LGBT guy on one of Tariq Nasheed done a video on it, right? And he's not in the truth, Tariq Nasheed, but he brings out some talking points that are quite. I sometimes do videos on because of the way he breaks it down in a very analytical way, and people are speaking against that lip locking. He's saying, wait a minute, we don't just LGBT don't just go around doing that. We got morals. You know, they're saying they got morals, and it's true though.
Well, Esau's. It's like instead of opening the door, he's blown the door off the hinges, so to speak. He's taken it so far to where even people who ain't in the truth can say, hang on a minute, there's something more here. He's pushing an agenda. And this is the thing. A lot of these social media companies, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all this kind of stuff, they're pro-LGBT. So what you've got to ask yourself is, why is everybody unanimous in pushing this thing? Surely there's an agenda behind it. If all these people are coming together, as I read Psalm 64, Secret Counsel of the Wicked, if all these people are coming together to promote this thing, you should know in your mind that, hang on a minute, there's got to be more than this. Because anything, I mean, you've got to be smart enough to know anything that the government says is bad. So if the government says it's good.
Whatever happened to wearing a mask? Come on, all these doctors have been talking about wearing masks and the pandemic. Come on, why ain't they speaking against that? Spreading germs.
Well, that's a good point. If you look at why wasn't Little Nas X social distancing?
Exactly. See what I'm saying though?
But that's what happens when you use logic. Do you know, that's one of the things that really pisses me off about this world, because, for example, in biology, you know that you've got the X and Y chromosomes, is it? If I remember biology correctly. XX is can't remember is it XX is a woman, XY is a man. But either way, we've got different cells, right?
I think it's X chromosomes for women, something like that.
So why now, all of a sudden, are we throwing the science out of the window to say that a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man? And if you speak against it, now you're speaking hate speech. Well, hang on a minute. Why is hate a crime? Okay, let's say you're eating your dinner, right? And two people have a plate of chips. One guy likes chips, one guy doesn't. Oh, is he guilty now because he hates chips? Is that a hate crime? No. So why is it a hate crime for us to not be down with LGBT?
We don't accept.
And let's break it down on another level. What good comes from that? Does it create life? No. Does it destroy the family? Yes. Does it help children grow up with a sense of strong morality of right and wrong? No. Does it weaken them? Yes. Again, when you use simple logic, you can see this is all an agenda, man. But the problem is that people don't fucking think out here, man. People don't think, they just follow. And that's the difference between the broad gate and the straight gate. You know, remember Yahweh Shai said, wide is the gate and broad is the way which leadeth unto destruction, but straight is the gate and narrow is the way that leadeth unto salvation, and few there be that find it, roughly paraphrasing. So luckily, let me get back into the scriptures because I've been talking on tangents. So I said, Revelation 1:7 on the topic of Yahweh Shai, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and also they which pierced him, and all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen, which means so be true. And it says, I am Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord Yahushua, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. I, John, who am also your brother and companion in tribulation, and in the kingdom and patience of Yahushua HaMashiach, was on the Isle of Patmos for the word of the Most High, and for the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. So basically, at that point, most of the apostles had dispersed and gone to various lands to teach this gospel, and many of them were caught and put to death. I think it says James was slain by the sword. Peter was he crucified upside down?
Yeah.
Apostle Paul was beheaded.
Right.
So, what again? We talk about how I spoke earlier about how important it is to reverence Yahushua, because Yahushua had to shed his blood for us to get this truth. But guess what? The apostles had to go through it too. Many of them had to be made martyrs in that lifetime just for teaching this word of the gospel. And that shows you how powerful this word is and why it was feared so much by those that were in power at the time. And then at that time it was the Romans who were in power, which is the Edomites. And then they went down. Their empire fell for 1,000 years, and then they came back during the Renaissance period, and they're doing the same things on the earth today as they were doing back then. Because if you look at what the things that precipitated the fall of the first Roman Empire, you had things like hyperinflation, and an excess of what do you call it? Sexual freedom.
Yeah,
as you call it. I'm trying to think of the word for it, but basically.
Yeah, I know the word. It's in the back of my head too.
Yeah, everybody starts doing whatever they want to do, and nothing becomes taboo.
Yeah.
That's where you get the saying, when you're in Rome, do as the Romans. Meaning that actually, people attribute that to Aleister Crowley, but it really goes back even further than that, because that Satanist Aleister Crowley, one of his mottos was "Do as thou will."
Yeah.
You know, and really, that's a good saying to be aware of, because again, what do they proliferate in the clothing culture? Again, which mainly is they use Jake to push the clothing thing. But if you look at the company Nike, what is their tagline? Just do it. Just do it. Now you see people walking around with Nike t-shirts, and on the front it says "Just do it,"
Bloody
or
hell.
on the jogging bottoms it says "Just do it." When people see that, what does it do subconsciously and psychologically to them? It makes them think, well, just do it. So let's say
Programming. Yeah.
let's say you're not a sodomite, right? And some guy comes up to you and he's trying to get all sweaty, talking up in your face and shit, and you think, oh well, just do it. I'll try it because I don't want to be a homophobe. I'll just try it. Well, guess what? You just did it, and that's the tenet of Satanism. Do as thou will.
Yeah.
Really, you should be meditating on the scriptures, and if the scripture says this ain't right, you say, I'm not going to do that. For example, eating pork. Someone could put a load of pork on your plate. Simpleton would think, oh well, I'll just do it, or just eat it to get along. Well, no, you're supposed to meditate on the scripture and think, hang on a minute. Our Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushua said in the laws that we're not supposed to be consuming pork. I'm not going to eat that. You know, that's one of the first levels of spiritual warfare, because we were saying that we are engaged. Me and the brother Ariel was talking earlier about how we have small aspects of spiritual power right now, but we are actually engaged in spiritual warfare. And that's why you've got to have a strong mind and be able to look at something and be like, hang on a minute. Okay, when I was in the world, I didn't see that as anything wrong with it. But now I've come to the knowledge, wisdom and understanding of this truth. I know that that's wrong, therefore I shouldn't be doing this or that. That's the kind of mindset we're supposed to be in.
Yeah.
Reading on, it says, So John was on the Isle of Patmos for the testimony of Yahushua. And it says, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet, saying, oh, now here's the point. It says Yahushua's voice was great like a trumpet. So when you see these films about Jesus Christ, so they call it, and Jesus Christ is speaking all meekly to the people and acting all effeminate and all this kind of shit. And I've got to say something actually through the Spirit. Something that really pisses me off is that men who don't speak like men, man. Like I was in a supermarket, slight tangent. I was in a supermarket yesterday using a self-service machine, and it had a voice. You know, the voice says, oh, now pay, or please enter your card, or whatever. That voice. And it had a really effeminate Edomite voice, like, please enter your card. Now click pay, and all this kind of stuff. I was getting so annoyed by this voice because it's like, man, why can't men be men anymore? And again, this all goes back to flipping Esau's psychological tricks, because he's effeminized a whole generation of men. Again, look at little Nas X. What was that to do? That was to make mainly the Israelites, but also the people of the world, to make men more effeminate. Because when men are effeminate, they're not going to be in that spirit to rise up. And Esau knew that. That's why he targets the woman so much, and which is why he set the woman up over the man.
Yes.
Again, that's a fulfillment of prophecy, because the scriptures say that Yahweh said, I will create a new thing in the earth, and a woman shall compass a man.
Yes.
So really it's the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai that's done this, but Esau's brought it into being through the feminist movement and all these other movements which have been about giving women more and more freedoms, to the point where our women are destroyed for overmuch liberty.
Yes.
And that's in the book of Sirach. It says, if thou hast a daughter, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself with overmuch liberty.
Yes.
You got something?
Yeah, I got James 1, and I start from 5. It says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask Yahweh that giveth to him, giveth all men liberally. Giveth to all men liberally, and unbridleth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, not wavering, for he that wavereth is like the wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. I want to get to the point. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of Yahweh. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
That's right.
Because now you have to be a man, as sometimes the brother does bring it out, Karab, you know. Being a man, you can't be double-minded, man. Some brothers who've been in this truth, it came out. He was very double-minded about his stance on the name. So that's an example. That's an example that one of the examples. But now with this woman thing, now the woman that's their spirit anyway. They're double-minded. You can sweet talk. That's why they say sweet talker, and you get her to do it. Some women will say, "Oh, I don't know if I'm into men or I'm into women." You know, some of them don't know what the fuck they want.
They're double-minded.
Double-minded. That's just their spirit. So we can't be like them women. We have to have a stance, and we stand on it. A character of being a man is being consistent in what he deals with what he stands on, and persistent to reach his goal.
Yep, that's right on point, and exactly what I mean.
So and you're talking about the Roman Empire, why it fell there. They put a whole heap of women in there.
Yes.
And Elder Malcolm, he just done a video. I just watched it before I come out the house. A woman was having sex with one of the inmates in the prison.
What, a woman warden?
A woman warden was having sex with an inmate, a prisoner.
Yeah.
And he goes into detail, but I don't want to make it too, but basically, he said that prisoner must have been one hell of a, sweet talker, for that to happen, while he was actually behind the bars. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That doesn't surprise me, because a lot of these women are wicked anyway.
Yeah.
And they like a bad man.
Right.
So that doesn't surprise me at all. I bet it happens a lot more than many people would think. Yeah,
it does. It was. I remember Oprah. You remember Oprah? There was a lot. Oprah Winfrey. Back in the day, that she was big. A lot of those. She used to touch those controversial subjects.
Okay.
As you said, a lot of these women, they like the bad men.
Yeah.
That's why they like to live on the edge. That's why. And you back to the point. Esau puts a lot of these women, because that was a sign of the sign of the end in the Romans and the Greeks. Putting them in the military, putting them in the police.
Yes.
And Malcolm brought out a good point. He said if he was a police, which he was in the army, if he was a police officer, he said you have to team up. So you might team up with a woman. He said he would never allow himself to be teamed up with no woman.
Yeah.
Because for obvious reasons, if you have to go to battle, she can't defend you. You might end up having to defend her.
Yes, that's very true, man.
So yeah, to your point. About the indecisiveness of this system and the homosexuality, the sexual perversion they're pushing out, which they're using the women to do that too, because a man usually has a weakness. A real strong man, to get to him, another man might not be able to step to him but he might get broken down by a woman. Deontay Wilder's done not interview, a press conference because he's having a third fight, and he's saying he just wants to be focused. And I noticed, to get to the point, a woman came to him and said, "Are you going to speak?" He just nope. He's focused now. He don't want no one to distract him. He shut everything down. So they tried to use a woman to get to him.
Well,
so he found out now the weakness.
Let's use some examples from the scriptures. Well, you can think of Samson. How did they get to Samson? They couldn't get him any other way. They had to go to him through Delilah. You know, they get Delilah all up in Samson's. They used Delilah to get Samson all up in his feelings and his emotions.
Yeah, I got it.
Then he ends up confessing his secret to her. I think that's in Judges.
Yes, in Judges.
Another example is Adam. The serpent, which was a man, which is, as we know, is an Edomite before they were Edomites, couldn't get to Adam directly, so he had to go through Eve to get to him.
Yeah.
You can even use King David as an example, because that was spiritual what happened between him and Bathsheba, because the spirit worked through David's lust towards Bathsheba in order to get David to go off by murdering Uriah, and then first committing adultery with Bathsheba, and then murdering his servant Uriah. You know, it was all through the spirit that happened. But how did it happen? Because his eye was swayed by a woman. Then you could use King Solomon as another example. How did King Solomon go off? By building temples and idols to some of his wives in his later years, after he lost his, he didn't really lose his wisdom, but yeah, he did kind of lose his way a bit, and that's why he went off. So oftentimes, when dealing with a woman, you got to be extra vigilant, man. You got to be circumspect and not just be thinking simply and carnally with your emotions, because that's the first step towards being tripped up by a woman. Let me find this account in Judges. You found it, or?
Yeah, I got it.
Alright, do you want to bring it out?
Judges 16. Just get straight to the point, 70 says, and Delilah said unto Samson, "Hear it, thou," if I'm pronouncing that right, "thou hast mocked me and told me lies."
So pause for a second. What verse are you reading?
Judges chapter 16 and verses 13.
Alright, Thawada. Carry on, yeah.
Mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, If thou wavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. And she fastened it. Let me get straight to the point. Jump down to 16. And it came to pass, Judges 16 and 16. And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words and argued and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death, that he told her all his heart, and said unto her, There hath not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazarite unto Yahweh from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. Last one. And when Delilah saw that he told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords the Philistines, saying, Come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'd like to speak on verse 16, and it says, And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him, so that his